Thank you for listening to this PodcastOne production. Now available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, PodcastOne.com, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.
The Steve Austin Show is brought to you free today by our friends at BetOnline. Get in the mix at betonline.ag and use the promo code PodcastOne for your 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts and exclusive partner of PodcastOne Sportsnet. Yeah, that's right. That's the part of the music where I come back to open up a can of audio whoop-ass with my buddy Sean Waltman. A lot of you people might know him as X-Pac, and I've been talking to this cat on the phone for the last few days trying to line up this interview, and I'm glad to finally have him on the show. We've been telling so many damn stories. I finally told Stacy, I said, man, we got to roll these goddamn recorders and start getting this shit on the damn show because all the good shit's going to get left out. Sean, how are you?
Man, I'm doing great, especially since finally doing this thing, right?
Hey, man, you're down in Florida, right?
Yeah, I'm in Florida right now.
But how did you end up in Florida? Because a couple of years back, I live in Marina Del Rey area, and you used to frequent the World Gym right there on the corner of Lincoln and Washington. So you was here, but you're from Minnesota, and now you're down in Florida. How in the fuck you get down there?
You know, I was in Mexico 4 years, and, you know, I lived in Minneapolis when you first met me. That night, the whole story in of itself.
Hey, man, I met you back in, it was about, what was it, 93?
No, it was like 91-ish. You were...
I just came into WCW then.
You've been there for a minute, but you guys are working the Roy Wilkins Auditorium, which was the building next to the St. Paul Civic Center.
But for some reason, Flying Brian and I were traveling together that night, correct?
And Raven.
And at the time, you were driving a shit brown 1993 Chevrolet Chevette, right?
Yeah. Oh,
and I ragged you unmercifully on that damn car.
So hard. I still laugh about that to this day.
Man, that was a season's worth of material, and of course, Brian was on fire too. Whatever happened to that son of a bitch?
Oh, you know what happened to it? I had my baby not soon after that. But I started out real young with my kids, and so I'd bring my son everywhere, and he was in the front seat in his little car seat thing. And it was the winter time, and I was going through an intersection, and some old man just blew the red light, and I just T-boned the hell out of him, destroyed that thing. I didn't have a license at the time. I don't know how I ended up not getting cited, but it was the old man's fault. And it was his first accident ever, and he's like 80-some years old.
Dude, how old were you when you had your first kid?
19. It was around the time I started showing up on the Global TV and, on ESPN there, right after you left there.
So were you planning on, you and your wife, were y'all married at the time? Did you say, hey, this is a great time to have a kid, let's do it?
Yeah, that's the crazy part about it is, like, she's doing nails in the hood.
Nails in the hood. Hell, what the fuck? Let's start a family.
Right, and I'm an independent wrestler and the skinniest and smallest one in the industry in general. So let's go ahead and start a family.
What were you thinking, man? Because
I don't know.
How often were you working?
I was with the crazy woman.
Well, and were you?
I'm not
you
gonna
crazy?
blame it on that.
Well, I know, but were you off the rails then? Were you semi-crazy as well?
No, man. I had my shit together, Steve. Like, I had my shit together back then. I was on top of everything, man. I was on a mission, and I knew what I was going to do, and I did it. You know? I mean...
Okay, stop right there. You knew what you were going to do, and so you did it. So then you were trained by what? Boris and...
Malenko, Carl Gotch, Masami Soranaka.
So then when did you fall in love with pro wrestling? When did you know that that's what you were going to do?
The first day I ever went to a live event was the Bayfront Center. It was Dusty Rhodes versus Ric Flair.
Shit.
It was the time when, like, the Midnight Rider was involved.
Oh, shit, not the Midnight Rider. Yeah, that's good stuff.
I knew it right then and there. That's what I was going to do. I was 10 years old. And from that moment on, I did every single thing to learn about the business. I set the ring up from the time I was 10 years old with Gordon Nelson. And I was the biggest pest. You can never get rid of me. And that's what it took.
Well, how'd you get hold of the Malenkos to train you?
This lady named Phyllis Lee, bless her heart, I owe her a ton. She talked Dean's dad, Great Malenko, into training me, and he just used me as a tackling dummy. I stayed in the ring the whole time.
Yeah.
So I got to learn 100 times more than everybody else that was going through camp.
So, but those Malenkos, they were known for a lot of wrestling holds and stuff like that. How was your scientific background? Because, man, when I remember you back in the day, I mean, you was doing a lot of high spots, a lot of high-flying stuff, and not so much really technical mat wrestling.
Well, if you look at my stuff from Global, I did a lot of mat work, a lot of submissions. In WCW, I would do a lot of submissions, and depending on who I worked with, I would always fit a few little bits of mat work in there, chain wrestling. But I don't like to do a lot of chain wrestling because it doesn't get the reaction.
But back then you could. But back then you could do the chain wrestling. These days, not so much because the product is sped so much fast forward. It's hard to do, but it was enjoyable to do back in the day. And because you could get away with it, and that's hard for me to say.
Yeah. And you can still do it today if you do it in little spurts, in my opinion, and you give somebody a payoff.
Okay, so you're kind of currently still in the ring. I mean, you still do some independent shots, right?
Yeah, pretty much every weekend.
Here's the question. Are you a professional wrestler or are you a sports entertainer?
I'm a professional wrestler at the moment.
What's the difference?
Wow. I guess it's just because I'm able to say it and get away with it.
Yeah, but you're calling your shit in the ring. You might have a fishbone of a plan, but I mean, it's you're living it, breathing it, doing
honestly,
it.
I gotta be honest with you. Like, that's a tough question, actually. I think the popular answer would be to say I'm a professional wrestler, but I guess honestly, maybe I'm just a sports entertainer right now. Maybe that's because I think that's what the people want to see from me.
Sports entertainment.
I appreciate all the wrestling that's going on, on the card from all these young, hungry guys. But, the people want to see me do certain things, and they're really not interested in seeing me do a lot else.
Well, I kind of was in a similar situation back in the day when the Stone Cold Steve Austin character started turning the volume up and getting over, and I was working a series of matches with Triple H. And they, I was trying to go out there and give them a match and give them 20 minutes worth to give them their money's worth. But, to your point, all they wanted to see me do was heel my way out of stuff, flip him off, bounce him around a little bit, and hit him with a stunner. So I can see what you're talking about. So with that being said, what is your move set today if you're working an indie shot? What kind of time are you putting in on an average in-ring basis?
12 to 15.
And you can get all your stuff in there, your trademark stuff, in 12 to 15 minutes.
Absolutely. I shine a bit in the beginning, and I get cut off right away. I'm one of those guys, Steve, that I like to fight from underneath the whole match.
Right.
That's how I like to do it, because that's what worked for me against the big guys working for Vince. There's a lot of smaller guys that do great stuff with each other, and then they get in the ring with the guy that's 300 pounds, and they're screwed.
Right. I always liked when you fought from underneath as well, and it makes sense just because of the size difference. If you're
it's the only thing that makes sense. I had to come up with my own way of shooting guys into the ropes because I didn't believe in a guy my size shooting a 300-pounder into the ropes. I'd always have him fire me and go for a running clothesline. I'd duck it, and I'd stop short in the middle. He'd keep going and hit the ropes. That's how I'd get him to hit the ropes.
So then,
and I'd hit him with the high spin kick coming off or something.
So then, what is your technique or what is your secret if you're talking to a young cat on the indie scene or some of these younger folks that are listening to this show? What is your key as a smaller cat working against a bigger cat? Your secret to not die during the cell?
Yeah, well, it's just that. It's just what you said. Don't die during the cell. You got to keep fighting back. And there is no rest.
Right.
There is no rest. When you're selling, that's not rest time. You're working your ass off when you're selling.
You are, and it's funny. A lot of guys will miss out on this when you're selling around. I mean, if you fire it up just once, twice, three, and that guy shuts you down, you sell off to a corner, or wherever, but you leave yourself open on purpose because there's that opening for that heel to restrike you. The thing that Undertaker did so well because he was so big, he sold on the run. because you had to stay on his ass. And me at,
man.
me at 250 or anybody else in that size range, Taker was going to sell on the run because, it took a lot to hurt him. So once you got on that motherfucker, you better stay on his ass or he's going to start firing back on you, and you're going to have to cheap shot him, cut him off to stay in that heat mode. But he sold on the run, and it made sense for his style, being a 300-pound guy.
You had to throw everything you had to bring the kitchen sink with you when you worked with him. And I similar experience when I had the storyline with Kane, and I was the heel and he was the baby face. How you think that? It was great to work with him, but I had to bring a lunch with me for those matches.
Hey, let me ask you a quick question. You talk about working heel. Did you prefer working heel or did you prefer working babyface?
There was a time in my career where I really thoroughly enjoyed working heel, and you want to know why? It was because there was baby faces like you, Rock, guys like that the people really resonated with, Hogan, different guys like that, and it was just like taking candy from a baby working with the baby faces then.
Right.
And we prided ourselves. When I say we, I'm talking about my friends and I, obviously. We prided ourselves with spit shining up the baby face. Because the better you make him look, the more he wants to work with you.
Right. I was talking to Ric Flair several weeks ago, and I asked him the biggest thing to being a heel, and he said, be unselfish. And it made so much sense to me. So, so many guys want to go in there and hog up a match, and it's all about them. But, in that heel mode, to your point, you've got to make that guy. If you don't make him, it don't mean shit.
Yep, and Ric Flair as a heel, he would beat a jobber with his foot on the ropes or pulling the tights.
Yeah. Hey, wait. All of your years in the ring, what was the best advice anybody ever gave you as it pertained to the work inside the ring or to the business in general?
Well, and it's the one you hear a lot, but nobody really listens to it until almost sometimes it's too late. Like when you think you're going too slow down. Right. That's one of them. I mean, God, geez, a lot of them have to do with stuff outside the ring, like never bring your lady around the business, around the boys, things like that.
Stop on that one. Explain that one. Never bring your girl to the business.
Well, Mr. Perfect, he had that one down pat. His wife was a saint, and he never brought her around any of that crap. Some guys did, and
well, it was tough because
of it.
Yeah, and it was tough because all of a sudden, you might be squeaky clean, but all of a sudden your wife comes to the building and sees all the everybody else's stuff, what they're doing, lots of gals floating around, and all of a sudden it's like, they get a pretty quick 411 on what the fuck's going on.
See, my wife, she already knew what was going on, the rest of the hijinks, and she didn't want to know what I was doing, to be 100% honest with you.
So when you got into you were in a business, were you in a business before or after you met your first wife?
Oh, before. The business was my first love. I mean, period. Before I had a girlfriend, I was in the wrestling business.
So you smartened her up as soon as you started getting in.
She was actually, she tried to be in it for, a short time, so she had somewhat of an idea.
So she's doing Nails in the Hood. You're breaking in. You're on the indie scene. The indie scene is never a place for me. I started off in USWA and then stayed there for a year and a half, went to WCW, and then on. But so the indie scene back in the day, in USWA, I would make either $15 or $20 a match,
wow.
Sometimes up to $40, and then a year and a half later, I got $100 a night. But anyway, $15 to $20 for me. What kind of coin were you making when you first broke into business?
Oh, I wasn't making anything. I was just happy to be on the shows.
Well, how
my goal was to get over.
Right.
And then once I got over, I started getting paid a bit, and I was helping Malenko promote his show, so I had experience in promoting, and I knew the business from the ground up. I knew every job there was. Okay,
now let's go back to you and your wife. She's doing Nails in the Hood. You ain't making a goddamn thing, and y'all decided it's a great time to have a kid.
Right? Yeah, but everything worked out.
Yeah.
It was incredible how everything worked out, and don't think that there was tough times but I was on top of things. I was, it seemed like when I hit 30 is when kind of I hit I cracked. I couldn't handle the pressure from from the wife and all the bull crap that came along with the marriage.
When you say pressure, what kind of pressure are you talking about?
Oh, man.
She knew what the business was about. You're on the road. You got a kid. She's trying to work.
She'd gotten heavy onto using, alcohol and drugs, and I was pretty healthy then when it came to that. So, it was just a constant battle, trying to keep her from being screwed up while I was gone, taking care of my kids.
Okay, now you ended up signing with WWF in 1993, so this is pre-93, correct?
No, this was after that. No,
oh, this is after.
Much a teetotaler early on. It was after we got money and, we started experimenting with a couple of things that she took it and ran, and I kept it under control.
So well, you came into WWF as a 1-2-3 kid, and were you still squeaky clean then?
Yeah. The biggest thing you'd get me to do is drink.
But I never knew you.
First time I ever touched a pain pill or any kind of pill like that.
Well, let me ask you a question because I never really knew you as a big drinker, and I hung with the drinking crowd. As long as you and I have known each other, we've crossed paths and been on the same buses and stuff like that. But I was kind of Lone Wolf McQuaid. Y'all was running as the clique. I didn't really know you as a big drinker.
No, I wasn't. But I still put him down. When I was with Kurt Hennig. He was kind of my first mentor when I came to work for Vince.
You can learn anything and everything about the business by Kurt Hennig. That son-of-a-bitch was smart beyond his years.
Exactly. And I learned so much from him, and he was so generous with the knowledge.
Yes, he was.
Whereas, if you'll talk to Scott, he'll tell you himself. He was stingy with the knowledge because they were stingy with the knowledge giving it to him, My thing was, Scott would get hot at me for, giving pointers away to certain guys, and I'd be like, hey, if they're not worth telling, they're not going to understand what I'm saying in the first place.
What did we used to call them back in the day? Trade secrets?
Trade secrets, yeah.
It was everybody tried to keep their trade secrets to themselves.
Well, hell, man, it was such a competitive industry, I mean, I understand it, but my philosophy was if you're good enough to take my spot, come take it.
Yeah. Who taught you when you're going up? You're coming in through the indie scene. You're setting up the ring for Malenko. You're learning about the promotion because you're helping them promote. How did that help you later on in your career, knowing some of the backbones that you knew that a lot of other kids didn't know just because they started in only wrestling?
Well, it's just that it always made me valuable, even if I was hurt. And wherever I went on the smaller, level, I was needed. When you know everything, all that stuff, you kind of need. Nobody's really needed. We're all expendable, but they felt like they needed me,
Right.
So, and I felt kind of the big fish in the small pond running around all the indies.
How long did you feel like it took you to get a solid grasp on ring psychology?
Wow, that's a good question because when I was the big fish, I thought I had a lot of it figured out. When I came to work for Vince, I worked with guys like Terry Taylor, Mike Rotundo, Rick Martel, guys that and they taught me a lot, and they weren't selfish either. They really were out there to make me look good, and I listened to them too. Matter of fact, one time I was a little too overzealous with Martel about wanting to get my shit in, and he actually cut a promo on me in front of everybody and put me in my place, and I needed it. So I realized when I got there that I didn't know shit.
Right.
And it took probably a good year and a half, 2 years of being there and moving up the card, working with guys like Scott, Brett, guys like that, Sean, and I was listening to your show with Kev, and what he was saying about traveling down the road and talking business, that's all 100% true. That's all we did was talk about how we could pick the business up off its ass because it was on its ass.
A lot of great.
And we figured we had to do it by working our ass off in the ring.
There's no shortage of action going on at our exclusive partner, BetOnline.ag. NASCAR is back, and BetOnline has hundreds of games, events, and sports to still get in on. You can bet on simulated NFL, NBA, and UFC, or even participate in a $10,000 Madden Bracket Challenge, a March Madness-style NFL simulation tournament you can enter for free. Visit the website or use your mobile device and join today to receive your new welcome bonus, and check out all the action. Bet Online, your online sportsbook experts and exclusive partner of PodcastOne Sportsnet. Explain to my listeners, or I'll explain rather, when X-Pac's talking about getting his shit in. What he's saying is he's got a favorite set of moves, his trademark stuff, just like I did, just like Scott Steiner did. They just figured you had to get all your shit in every single match. And
or we were cheating the people.
Yeah, but it sounds good because you just want to run through your moveset, so you give them your highlights. But if there's not time in the match or there's not a reason in the match for them to happen, you don't always get your shit in. But as a green son of a bitch like Pac was back in the day, when he says in regards to Rick Martel, he always wanted to get his shit in. Hey, Martel, being the wily, smart, hell of a worker that he was, said, hey, kid, it's not time to get all your shit in. And you had to understand what he meant.
Yeah, and I mean, and he let me know, and I understood, and I adjusted accordingly.
Hey, man, I was talking to you the other day, and you're down in Florida right now. You're in a good space. We were talking, catching up the other day, and I said, dude, how are you doing? And
you opened up Pandora's box on that one.
You said you were in a good space now, but you had some hellacious problems a few months ago, a couple of years back.
Yep.
And then just in passing, you said, well, I tore my asshole, right? And when you said that, I was like, well, shit. I'm thinking to myself, well, I should ask him how he tore his asshole, but then maybe I should not ask him how he tore his asshole. Maybe he doesn't want to tell me how he tore his asshole. Maybe it was a bad accident on a porn shoot. I don't know. But nonetheless, I had to ask, dude, how did you tear your asshole?
This cat, Jerry Lynn, he's always been kind of an unsung hero workhorse type of a wrestler. And he and I kind of, we made a name for ourselves on independence. And we were married to each other, all around the horn. And and we were on the global stuff from the Sportatorium together. And
hell of a worker. Good chemistry, great combination with you two in the ring.
Yeah, for sure. And it was his retirement match. And so I wanted to go out there and give him a great send-off. And so I missed the Bronco Buster in the ring. The bottom turnbuckle's exposed. For anybody who doesn't know what the Bronco Buster is, the guy's laying in the corner with his shoulder blades on the bottom turnbuckle. And basically I run across the ring and I land with my balls in the guy's face and start jumping up and down. And then when I was a heel, the people hated it. I turned babyface and people loved it. So that's kind of part of my thing that I still do. That's part of my formula I still do, that people want to see.
So, but before you continue the story, it does help to say, hey, man, here's where I hit you with a Bronco Buster. You don't say, hey, I'm in position in the turnbuckle. You're going to be sitting on your ass. I'm going to run across the ring and put my balls in your mouth.
Right. I just say Bronco Buster. They know.
It's a little bit easier to be on the receiving end of that. So anyway, there you are. You and Jerry Lynn in the ring. He's in the corner. You come across running, and what happens?
It was actually another guy because we were in like a four-way tornado match.
Oh, Jesus, not a four-way tornado match.
He moves out of the way. I come in way too horizontally instead of at a 45-degree angle, and the turnbuckle ripped my asshole.
So what happens when your asshole hit the turnbuckle? Did you say, man, something's wrong here?
Something similar happened like a couple years prior to that, and I had 13 stitches to sew my ass back together, but this time it actually tore through to my anus. So when I hit, you can see, if you look at the footage, it doesn't look like a huge deal, but you can see me immediately grab my ass and go, I tore my asshole again. And as soon as I said that, the guy that moved out of the way just walloped me with a chair right in the back.
Thanks. At least some of that at least it kind of shifted the focus of pain in your anus to your back.
Yeah. And I went through a table after that. I mean, there was 12 more minutes of that match, but
you kept working the match with a heinous penis in the anus.
Absolutely. It's good for business, brother.
So what are you thinking? You as you described to me.
I didn't want to screw the match up. It's Jerry's retirement. So later on, I could start to feel the warmth trickling down my leg, and immediately I left. And, like, I started to bleed out in my bathroom in my hotel. It looked like a murder scene in there. I started to pass out from loss of blood.
Yeah.
That's when I called 911. And they had to have an emergency surgeon come in and give me what's called a sphincterplasty, which has very rarely ever been done before. And I was real close to having to be in a colostomy bag.
I live in Beverly Hills. There's a lot of plastic surgery done, but I've never heard of a sphincterplasty of one of these Hollywood starlets having their pooper stitched up a little bit. So, and when you're talking to the 911 guy and you say, I'm bleeding from my anus, and so the 911 guy, he's probably, I would imagine.
They think it's some kind of gay thing, like.
But I know, but my point is, like, if I was to put a severe gash in my leg from running a chainsaw, I put a tourniquet around my upper leg. It's kind of hard to put a tourniquet around your anus.
You can't, and that's the thing. It wouldn't stop bleeding. And
so what'd you do? I mean, is it okay just like stick a large object up there to kind of shut the flow of blood down?
I'm not sure exactly what they did because I'm face down in the hospital, and I'm on Suboxone at the time. Well, I'm still on Suboxone, which is a maintenance program for those people that get addicted to painkillers. And it's worked great for me, but you can't take pain pills while you're on Suboxone or it'll make you sick.
Right.
And so I had to switch over to regular pain meds again, which was kind of tricky, So
because you kind of have a tendency to go off the rails.
3 months.
Right.
I was in diapers for a couple of months.
So
and it's, to go to the bathroom, when you got those open, fresh wounds down there, that can become a huge problem.
That's the only time you would really actually encourage yourself to have diarrhea, where you're instructed to take a stool softener.
Oh, I was taking stool softeners, everything.
Stool softener like a motherfucker. I got a tore asshole. Just
right.
think if you'd have shit a brick, you'd been calling 911 again.
And don't get me wrong, I was eating those painkillers when they prescribed them to me. Because it almost severed my sciatic nerve too.
Man, I tell you what, we're joking with this, but obviously it's a serious thing. I mean, but the injury, it was just so crazy when you told me. It just caught me totally off guard. Did they have like a pain pill? Did they have like a pain pill suppository you could use or something like that, or maybe some lidocaine you could rub on your asshole before you shit?
Lidocaine, yeah, I've got lidocaine, but I don't like ass play or anything like that, anyways. So I don't like a lot of things being messed with down around there.
Yeah, my whole gimmick is that's exit only, to each his own. But so here's the thing: moving forward in your wrestling career, you still going to continue to hit that Bronco Buster?
You damn right.
But
damn
not
right. That's part of the price of admission.
But not
that's if they don't play my music, I'm like, I'm not going out. I'm doing the Freebird thing to them. I'm like, that's half of my act.
Yeah, but maybe to not an exposed turnbuckle. Let's be safe here, Sean.
Sure. Well, no, as long as the guy don't move and I land on him, I'm fine.
What about creating maybe like an anus pad?
Yeah.
Maybe if you used maybe almost like an athletic cup reversed around your ass.
Sure. That could always work. It might look like I got shit in my pants when I'm wrestling.
Hey, man, so you started off in the business, and then you were pretty much a teetotaler straight up, and then you started getting a little bit of alcohol. What was your trail into the pills and the bullshit and the stuff that all the boys end up doing?
Well, honestly, I was so young, and I wanted to be accepted so bad that I just did whatever, and I was a follower. I can admit that, I mean, a lot of people don't want to admit their faults or whatever, or that they might have been a certain way in the past, and I'm not afraid to admit my defects of character. So, I mean, it was easy for me to just go, okay, I'll take it, and I was driving with Kurt, and and I don't blame Kurt. A lot of people tried to blame him for my, corruption, and it's nobody's fault but your own.
I agree.
He did way more for me than he ever did to affect me negatively.
Yeah, but I remember I was riding down the road. I've told this story before with someone, and all of a sudden they break out a prescription bottle of Vicodins and say, "Hey, man, you want a Vic?" And I said, "A what?" I said, a Vicodin. And I said, well, what the fuck is it? He said, well, it's a pain pill. I said, well, what's it going to do for you? He said, well, kind of give you a buzz. So anyway, that was my first introduction to a Vicodin. I had never heard of the sumbitches. I heard of Excedrin, aspirin, and bullshit like that back in Edna.
But I heard of codeine, but nothing else.
Nothing else. I mean, so it's kind of like, I was in the same boat as you, and you kind of just start going on down that trail, and the trail leads to a superhighway of all kinds of different horse shit. And a lot of the guys, man, have left us too soon by going off the rails.
Absolutely, and that could have just as easily been me as much as anybody else.
Well, tell me
this. Because honestly, and for a while there out in L.A., I got real bad on crystal meth, Steve. And I wouldn't let anybody see me at the time. But at first I was okay because, it took a while for that stuff to really get a hold of me. But I remember...
Dude, when were you on crystal meth?
When I first come out to L.A., in 2002. But when I saw you out there for the longest yard stuff, I hadn't been doing it. Like, I was pretty healthy at the time. Else I wouldn't have shown my face.
Hey, let me ask you something on the crystal meth, because that's something I've never seen in person. Do you smoke it? Do you snort it? Do you shoot it? What in the fuck do you do with it?
All the above. All the above.
What were you doing with it?
I'm not proud of it, but I got to be honest. I did them all. I did it.
Is it just an extreme? Is it like a cup of coffee times 300, or what is it?
Have you ever taken a fasting or anything like that?
Yeah, way back in the day.
Yeah, it's like that times about 1,000.
And so, how long does that last?
Forever, man.
But dude, don't it make your heart start beating so fast that you freak out?
Yeah, I had a match with AJ Styles when TNA first started up, and the whole time, it was like main event or some second to last, and the whole time, AJ is trying to get with me, and he was a lot greener at the time. This was 2002, and I'm in the damn bathroom stall shooting up meth.
Oh Jesus!
And he can't even talk about his match with me, and I just let him through the match by experience, and even dove onto him on the floor and called that an audible on the fly, and we had a great match, but I forgot what the finish was. So, like, we had an open-ended match, like we never got to finish off. And I apologize to AJ for that to this day, because that was highly unprofessional.
Well, dude, I mean, that's the kind of stuff, the crystal meth, that's the stuff that fucks your teeth up and makes your skin all fucked up, right?
Yeah.
So how did you get off of it?
I had Hunter came out and helped me. First, Nash came out to try to get me, and I ended up going back with Joni again, and, like, he couldn't find me. Then Hunter came out and just snatched me away and brought me to Atlanta, and this is before the wellness policy. He footed the bill himself.
Oh, man, that's a friend. Yeah, that's a friend there.
Yeah, man, and Vince said, hey, you know what? I'll pay half. He goes, he's my friend, too. So you'll never hear me say a bad word about Vince.
Yeah, well, I won't either. I mean, because I love the guy, and fuck, we had our good times, our bad times.
Sure.
But, I mean, yeah, man, I got nothing but respect and love for that guy. Okay, but so with that being said, bringing in those members of the people that you were hanging out with, let's shift gears for a second. The bond between yourself, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Scott Hall, and Kevin Nash was very strong. What was it that drew you cats together so well, so much? Because, man, you guys were thick as thieves, and y'all were the clique. Y'all were a unit.
I mean, we weren't consciously trying to bury anybody.
No, and I don't mean that, but I just mean there was a bond and a brotherhood between you guys, which was very thick.
You spend more time with your friends than you do with your own family. You're bound to have a special bond. I mean, you know what that's like, Steve. I mean, and we had the same love for the business. We were real like-minded. So, like, we understood each other. And, like, when we got in the ring with each other, shit was magic.
Right.
I mean, we loved working with each other. I mean, we loved working with other guys, too. But it was that's just the way it was. We decided that we were going to stick together. And nobody was going to come between us. And that's what we did, and it worked.
Hey, man, could you think back in the day if you guys would have had an audio recorder or even a video camera to just record or document some of those road trips of the conversations that were had in that automobile or in a hotel room, just sitting around shooting the shit, talking and booking the business like we used to do back in the day.
Right.
Can you imagine how much that would be worth? I mean, that would just, because that's when some of the best conversations talk about, booking the territory, talking about different guys, different angles, how to get more heat, how to get so-and-so over. It would be a great thing to go back and listen to.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, because unfortunately, Steve, a lot of it is kind of sketchy, because we were always like inebriated and whatnot. Hunter would have a better recollection of a lot of that stuff, because he was always clear-headed. Mm-hmm. And how he was able to put up with us half the time, I have no idea. God bless him for it.
He was the only straight guy out of the group, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. He was, I could tell you that he drank a few shots of Jack with us once that I can remember. He might have done one or two other things that weren't a big deal. But, that guy's got no vices.
No, he has no vice. And that's pretty much documented throughout the history of his career. I was a lounge lizard. Back in the day, I didn't ever want to go out. I would just work, and then I would hit the lounge and start drinking. So I was that guy. But every now and then when he floated into that circle of guys, he would have one beer or whatever and just to have one with the boys. But everybody knew that he did not drink and respected that, and never any peer pressure to say, come on, because he had laid it down. That's who he was, and he stayed that way.
And here's the thing too. He would tell me after he came to my aid, when I was doing really bad, and he said, "Look," he goes, "Kid, I wish I could relate to the things you're going through, but my childhood was good. My parents raised me great. I didn't have any childhood trauma." None of that. So I think your upbringing makes a huge difference in how you end up. And so, I mean, that's what, I think that explains a lot.
So then coming up in your childhood, did you have a rough childhood?
I did. I mean, I was sexually abused as a child, more than once. I don't boo-hoo about it. I deal with it. I deal with it fine.
Yeah.
That kind of messed me up, as far as being able to have relationships and whatnot, and kind of, it messes you up,
Yeah.
It's. I don't want to go off into negative territory.
Yeah. I got you.
That was tough, and I was unsupervised. I did whatever the hell I wanted from the time I was about 5 years old. So, and my mom was a single parent. I'm not going to blame her for everything. I was a hard kid to raise.
What was the last grade of education? Did you graduate from high school?
8th grade.
8th grade?
Yep.
You didn't go to high school?
I went to high school. I just never completed a grade once I went.
I'll be damned.
The only time I would show up for school was for the wrestling room, And they wouldn't let me wrestle on the team because I wouldn't cut my hair. And finally I quit school in general and started wrestling pro. Started training wrestling pro when I was 15.
So, but then you were still in touch with your mom or still living with her right then, and she didn't say...
No, I left home and I went to Tampa, and I lived with Phyllis Lee.
Oh, I got you.
She was Dan Severn's manager for UFC.
Yeah.
She managed a lot of MMA fighters later on.
And, dude, you never went to high school?
Pretty much no.
Did you ever think about going to trade school, learning any kind of trade, carpenter, welding?
No. I had my plan was what it was, and I had there was no failure. There wasn't an option. And I'm a person, Steve, that believes that you can create your own reality.
Right.
You can visualize and create your own reality, and that's what I did, and it worked for me. If I hadn't screwed things up on my own, the plan would have continued to work.
Support for the Steve Austin Show comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Home today is so much more than it was yesterday, but at Rocket Mortgage, home is still all about you. During these challenging times, the top priority at Rocket Mortgage is the health and safety of the communities they serve. If you need mortgage assistance, their team is available 24/7 to answer questions and offer solutions. Whether that means saving money on your mortgage or finding a new way to navigate payments. From their home to yours, the team at Rocket Mortgage is with you. Visit rocketmortgage.com/Austin to learn more. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states. NMLS, consumeraccess.org, number 3030. So, throughout your entire life, you started in the business of pro wrestling, and that has really been your only means of sustenance, or your way to make a living was pro wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
So, How many years did you spend in Mexico working? 4
years.
Explain to me a little bit, because even though sometimes I'll be down at the ranch or I'll be on the road somewhere and I'll catch a little AAA or, one of the Mexican organizations, Lucha Libre.
Yeah, I work for AAA.
So to my listeners across, wherever they listen, Mexican wrestling or Lucha Libre is a little bit different than American style. You have your rudos, which are your bad guys, or your heels, your technicos, which are your baby faces, or your good guys. Dude, I've been in the business since '89. I still don't really technically get the psychology of Lucha Libre style wrestling. Break that down for me.
Because they have none, Steve.
Okay, so what is it? You just have a move set or some high spots, you go get your shit in, and then
That's
go
how
home?
they do it. But see, I brought my psychology with me, and I didn't do their shit. I did my own shit. They got enough guys doing that shit down there.
But they were cool with you getting your shit in.
Yeah.
So how was the communication process?
Because before I went to work for Vince, my first company I worked for in Japan was a smaller company, but they brought over all the legends from Mexico. Dos Caras, Mil Mascaras, Io del Santo, the son of the saint.
Right.
Legends. So when I finally moved there, I at least had already established relationships with a lot of those guys.
So
Conan was my boy down there. So and he was, one of the jefes kind of running things.
Right. So how did those guys?
A lot of guys didn't like the fact that I was there because they felt like I was taking a job from.
That's the question I wanted to ask you. How were you received? A threat, and so animosity in the dressing room, heat.
A little bit, but most of the experienced, established guys that were legends and had a lot of respect were friends, and I get along with everybody, And so everybody was cool to me, at least to my face.
Yeah, but check it out. You're a laid-back cat, and you've always gotten along with everybody. But when you go over there, a lot of those guys, most of them, do not speak English. So how was the communication process when you guys are trying to put this thing together to go out? You could do your moveset, your psychology incorporated in the match, and they're getting their shit in, as we said earlier. How did that happen?
Well, they got their shit in according to how I laid the match out. Because I was the heel, I just would, have somebody translate, hey, just trust me.
Yeah.
Just trust me on this one. And they'd come back and they'd think I was a magician or something because they couldn't understand how I could get those people to come unglued using real psychology.
Now, when you were in Mexico,
they have no psychology.
Right. So, and I always understood when I was talking to DDP, when Jake was down there, Jake, of course, Jake did his stuff and he used his psychology and it got over. But, that was a smart thing about it. And you got to have psychology.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a couple of guys down there that know, but they're real stingy because it's real competitive down there. Still, like everybody's out for themselves, and they would rather get their shit in and have a shitty match than worry about making the other guy look good and the other guy reciprocating and having a good one.
Hey man, speaking just specifically about Mexico, what kind of paydays were you making over there?
Well, I was making at first about $600, $700 a show, but I was guaranteed several shows a week.
Pretty good money.
And the second time I was there, I was guaranteed $800 a night, which is a fortune down there.
Damn right it is.
Some of those guys are making down there. That's what pissed me off the most was the way that they exploited their talent down there. I'm used to working for Vince McMahon, who treats his guys great, and he takes pride in doing so. And then I go down there, and they're treating me like like a circus animal. And I'm taking 14-hour bus rides again, which I thought I wouldn't do since I was 19 in Japan, and working in shitholes with rings with holes in them. And that's how I tore my knee out. I've been working 4 years with one knee.
Hey, so what's the loop over there? Where were you based out of? Mexico City? And what was the travel schedule?
Mexico City. There would be the main, like once a week we would do Monterrey, like Oaxaca down south, Leon, different towns around the area. But we were always based out of Mexico City.
And these are bus rides, correct, because of the driving?
Yeah, or no, a lot of times they were flights because when we would go up north, which is like kind of towards the border, we'd have to fly up there. Like we'd do Nuevo Laredo.
Yep.
And we'd have to fly in there because that
right.
side was just way too long.
So how was the boys, the Mexican boys, treated out in public? I mean, guys still wearing their hoods and stuff, their masks. To my other listeners, would they, travel without their mask, and how was the public's reception or treatment of these guys?
Those guys would wear their mask everywhere. I mean, when a guy would pass away, we'd be in the church and they'd be wearing their masks at the funeral.
Wow.
Just everywhere. Like some guys would be wearing it in the shower, like Mil Mascaras and, Santo and guys like that. Like I remember one time, Hijo del Santo, a legend in Japan and other parts of the world, they take their masks very seriously.
Damn right they do.
And he was coming in and doing the shots for Vince when they had that Super Estrellas thing that Victor Quinones was doing.
Yeah.
And Brian Christopher went in Santo's bag, got his mask, put it on, and came and ate his lunch in the cafeteria right in front of him.
What happened on that?
Doesn't sound like a big deal.
No, dude, that's a flat out insult.
Damn straight.
What happened?
Crazy guy.
Yeah. What happened off that rib?
He didn't do a goddamn thing, Steve. He was a smaller guy, and he was in the land of giants, and he knew to keep his goddamn mouth shut.
Yeah. God dang. Unbelievable. Hey, so check it out.
I wouldn't have done it to him because I have respect, but...
Oh, yeah.
Brian was a crazy guy.
So you're down there, but it's not 4 years solid. You're coming and going, correct?
No, I lived down there.
So 4 years in Mexico, man. Yeah. Did you pick up the language? Did you become bilingual?
Yeah, I hablo español now.
How much?
Probably, good enough to have a conversation, and not good enough to cut a good promo on TV, though.
See.
Or live in ring, because I tried it once and failed miserably. People laughed me out of the goddamn arena.
Hey, so 4 years in Mexico, where were you living?
I was living in Mexico City.
But in a hotel?
In the hotel that all the boys lived in called the Hotel Fornos, which was basically a hotel that the hookers brought their johns to. And it had, the porno channel on the dial, and some rooms had a little jacuzzi, but they didn't have air conditioning. And it was just, and I had Alicia down there, my girl at the time, and her 4-year-old son, Phoenix, who made every town with us. He took every bus ride, every plane. He went everywhere with us. That kid made as many miles as we did.
So how's the food situation down there? Were you digging it?
It was pretty bad, man.
Yeah.
I got an ulcer down there, and
from worrying or eating.
I wasn't a big fan of going to the doctor, and that almost killed me too, man. Because my stool was coming out dark black, which means you're bleeding,
Yeah.
And
what caused that ulcer?
Finally, one of the promoters was a doctor instead of a drug cartel guy, and he told me you need to be taking this medication or you're going to die. Simple as that. And I took it, and I was fine.
What caused the ulcer?
Man, I'm going to be honest with you. It was those over-the-counter somas down there that had a ton of anti-inflammatory mixed with it.
What is it with the boys and somas?
I don't know, man. It's just anything to get a buzz, I guess.
When did you get off those things?
God, it's been years.
To my fans that don't know what a soma is, it's a muscle relaxer. Generally, they come in 350 milligram strength. Guys used to buy them by the truckload over in Mexico, or doctors would prescribe them. For some reason, the boys just love to take them. Many of our friends have died because of, these things. But the boys were just loved the damn somas and, try to get too high. And when you try to get too high, bad things.
It's very ugly.
I wouldn't touch a soma with a 10-foot pole. I haven't taken a soma in 12 years, and I wouldn't. If I had a stack up in front of me, I'd just tell you to stick them up your ass. I got nothing to do with them. But back in the day, they were part of the landscape, part of the culture. Were they part of the landscape with the Mexican boys?
Yeah, because certain guys would get them and then sell them to the other boys.
Well, I know, there would be some muling going on, with some stuff there, but just amongst themselves, were they using just like, a lot of the boys here in the States were? And I'm not using all of the boys in the States as a blanket statement because there certainly wasn't everybody, but, I was amongst them, as was several other cats. Were they using them themselves?
They were using drugs in general. Now, they would use somas and not a whole lot of pain pills because people think that, in Mexico it's wide open, you can get whatever you want. No, that's just Tijuana and those frontier border towns that you can get, whatever you want and pay out the ass for it, too. But in Mexico, they were pretty strict on what you could get. You could buy steroids over the counter and those somas that were mixed with anti-inflammatory because usually that would prevent most people from abusing them. But the big thing down there, Steve, was everybody did coke.
Really?
I mean, when I say everybody, I don't mean everybody, but 80% of the guys you would never even look at and think would be doing it, got their pen cap out and doing the bumps of coke before they go in the ring.
I would have to imagine that's that good shit too.
Well, sometimes it was, sometimes it wasn't.
So were you?
It's just all dependent on who you got it from, really.
Were you messing with the blow too?
Every now and again, I would never have it on my own because I knew, if I had my own bag of it, I would go just run off by myself and do it all till it's gone. Now,
at this time, were you doing a crystal meth?
No way.
Okay.
No,
So you're down there, but let me ask you something a little bit about the Mexican work. Because these days when I watch, if I'm watching AAA or something, man, these guys are very technical and they're very mechanically sound, more so than their counterparts over here in the United States.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that, and why? Or why not?
Well, they're still big in the kayfabe down there, Steve. And the truth is, a lot of the population down there, now see, Lucha Libre, AAA, and Arena Mexico, EMLL.
Yes.
Them and the WWE, they might have a bit of an overlap in fan base, but the Lucha Libre is a lot more based in their fan base is a lot more of the people that live in poverty because they price their tickets so poor people can afford to come, So they believe in it still down there. Even as phony as it looks in my book,
right?
Because they'll do all that great wrestling and then they'll hit each other like a bunch of pussies.
Yeah.
You know,
you get a bunch of that.
They take those Fuji bumps.
But to your point, the people have bought in and they still want to believe, and they didn't. No one's really come out of the closet, so to speak, over there and say, hey, we're not Lucha Libre, we're sports entertainment. They're sticking to their guns, and that's what they are.
Yeah,
and when I say that, I'm not shitting on the WWE.
When Mickey Rourke's movie came out,
yeah,
and we played it on the bus, you wouldn't have believed how many pissed off guys there were when they started watching that movie.
Really?
Holy shit!
What'd they do?
They're like, "What the fuck is this?" And I'm listening to them in Spanish. You'd think they thought that the business was over.
Oh, God. Hey, well, let's talk about the wrestler for a second before I want to come back to Mexico. When you saw that movie, what did you think?
Well, for the most part, I was like, okay, that's one aspect of it, and it's really accurate. Except for, I didn't like the scene where they're in the grocery store hitting each other with the goddamn aluminum pans and shit.
Yeah.
We never do that shit. We never did.
Right.
So that part was bogus. And a little bit of the dialogue that didn't sit well with me as far as being accurate as to how we would talk. But for the most part, I thought it was well done.
What did you think about Mickey Rourke's job?
I thought he did a great job.
What did you think about the in-ring action that he did?
I don't know, man. I mean, I guess he did pretty good for
you know what?
being a wrestler.
What I think he did, what happened was he did okay, but they shot it very close. It was very tight, so it didn't have to be anything that was crisp or to perfection. It was passable because it was shot so close.
Sure, and plus the in-ring action was just the backdrop of the movie anyways.
Right. It was about the wrestler, yeah.
Part of the movie.
When the guy, they kind of they crossed the line a little bit to me and to the world of being a total mark when Mickey, or what was his name in the movie?
Randy the Ram.
Yeah, Randy the Ram was driving down the highway in his piece of shit van, and we all had our piece of shit cars. You had an 83 Chevette. I had a piece of shit Honda. But when he had his action figure on his dash,
Yep.
I was like, dude, in the business, that's one of the things that you don't do.
Yep.
Back in the day when I was around, at least.
Yeah, you're like begging for somebody to go, oh, fucking what a mark. and then them playing the video game, the old outdated video game, and the other guys going, haven't you heard of Call of Duty?
Hey, okay, fuck the wrestler. It was a pretty decent movie. When I first saw the wrestler, I never go to a movie theater anymore. I don't like going to them. I'd rather wait for it to come on DVD, like one of my movies, and not go to the theater. So anyway, I had the flu, and I kept hearing about this damn movie. So I said, well, fuck, I feel like shit. I might as well go to the movie and see the wrestler. So I went during the daytime matinee show. There was me and 8 other people in the theater, and an old couple, about 70 years old, a Spanish guy, and a couple other cats. One of the couples walked out. Another person walked out. I stayed through the movie. And, when you've got the flu and you feel bad, you kind of look at things on a negative side anyway because you feel like shit. So anyway, the movie is over. I walk to the bathroom and go to the damn, take a piss, and the guy's pissing beside me. And I looked at him and I said, I'm a wrestler. I had to ask him what he thought. So I said, hey, dude, what'd you think? He goes, I thought it was all right. He goes, what'd you think? I said, I thought it sucked. Because I thought it was supposed to be like portrayed like what a real wrestler goes through, but it was specific to, Randy the Ram. And when I look back at it just for the sake of what the movie was, I thought it was pretty damn good. And I thought Mickey Rourke, as far as a performance, kicked ass. Yeah,
and it was just one particular aspect of the business. It was a story of the not so happy ending story that a good many of us end up with, because, I mean, let's face it, Steve, like the majority of people, like in the wrestling industry, it doesn't end happy, the story.
Hey, man, let's talk about that. It doesn't end happy. Let's go back to Mexico. Something happened to you in Mexico. You feel like talking about this or not?
Hell yeah.
All right, dude. We're talking on the phone the other day, and then, you said, hey, man, I tried to hang myself in Mexico. And I said, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? Break this down for me. You were in Mexico. What in the hell possessed you to hang yourself?
Okay, well,
you tried to commit suicide.
In more detail.
Okay.
The whole time I was there with Alicia, my girl at the time, I still love her to death, but she was having problems with the father of her child, and to the point where the guy actually put a $100,000 reward out for the kid, basically for somebody to kidnap the kid and bring him back to the States on Facebook and MySpace and all that. And kidnapping is huge down in Mexico.
Damn right it is.
If this guy didn't have the money, if somebody would have actually kidnapped the kid and brought him back and he went and got paid, that kid would have been dead. I mean, she was real stressed out over all that. And, that just, it created a lot of friction that wasn't, that normally wouldn't have been there. And I was doing my thing down there was smoking weed.
Right.
That's how I stayed out of trouble. And guys down there, like the average person, they looked down on people smoking a joint, and they thought it was okay if guys did blow, which is totally ass backwards to me.
I agree. I'm not a dope smoker myself, but yeah, I would lean towards more of the dope smoking than the coke snorter.
I'd rather have a locker room full of dope pot smokers than a bunch of guys doing cocaine.
Agreed. So what happened?
So she was like, I don't want you smoking pot anymore in case you have to get tested. And she knew that came with the package.
Yep.
I mean, for right or wrong, that was my crutch.
Yes.
so that's how I ended up going to the booze. Honestly, I hate the taste of alcohol.
Right, but
it's
you
like you said
needed.
Before, I was never known as a big drinker. Well, I was drinking a fifth or more a day of Oso Negro, which is Mexican-made vodka. If you've ever heard of vodka made in Mexico.
But if you're going to stop smoking dope, you still needed your release. You still needed your buzz, so you turned to the bottle.
Yeah,
gotcha.
and it got the best of me, and then I felt like I needed it, or I wasn't going to be, or I'd be ill. Anyway, so like we'd get into arguments, and sometimes it would turn physical. And she'd let me have it a couple of times. Usually, nothing major, but it sucks when things get physical between a man and a woman.
Yes.
Regardless of who's doing it to who.
Yep.
And I've always prided myself, Steve, throughout my life, in being able to say I never hit a woman. Like, I've even said to the point where, like, I'd die before I did it.
Right.
So we're in our apartment, and I don't know what the fucking fight was even about, to be honest with you, Steve. Now, looking back at it, I just remember it turned into her, peeing off on me, and, she hit pretty damn hard for a woman, and I still wasn't going to hit her back. And so I think, that was her intention. She was, like, wanting me to hit her. It seemed like that was what it felt like, but I wouldn't do it. She took my picture of my kids, broke it over her knee, and I just snapped. And I hit her with the straight right, knocked her across the room, and her son happened to see it, and I just was overcome with guilt and shame, Steve. Like I was like, I don't deserve to live. I was totally, my state of mind was totally irrational because of the alcohol and the Valiums, and so I pretty much ate almost a whole bottle of Valium, probably about 40 Valiums, because there was 20 left out of a bottle of 60.
Yeah.
And I went to we had a rooftop garden. We had a real nice apartment in a nice part of town. And I washed those Valiums down with some Bacardi, and I hate Bacardi. Worse than any of the other alcohol, which I can't stand. And
so stop. You're washing pills down with vodka, with Bacardi, and so you're set on right now, hey, I'm going to commit suicide, but I'm going to swallow these pills first, or now you...
Well, here was my thought process.
Okay.
Like, I wrote a suicide note, which was barely legible.
Right.
And I decided, okay, I'm going to take these pills and wash it down with alcohol before I hang myself, just in case I decide to pussy out.
Right, wow.
So I thought I would have all my bases covered, Steve.
Yeah.
So then I find a garden hose, I tie it to the beams on the roof, and then I tied it around my neck, and I hung myself.
Oh,
and I don't remember anything else from that point on until I woke up in the hospital in restraints and intubated with the breathing machine down my throat.
So, dude, and this is a fucked up question, but I mean, you tie the rope around the beams, you tie it around your neck. Do you just slump over and the pressure goes on your neck, or did you jump off of something? I mean, what the fuck?
Well, I started up on a chair.
Yeah.
And then I just, once the pills kicked in, apparently that's when I fell.
Gotcha. So
and so when they finally let me out of the restraints, like, I got this catheter in my dick, and I'm like, I'm wanting the hell out of here. I've already got scars all over my ankles and my wrists from trying to break the restraints.
Oh.
So I calmed down, but I want this catheter out in the worst way, right? And I'm trying to yank that sumbitch out, and I'm yanking as hard as I can. Little did I know, there's a balloon that they inflate up in there to keep it from coming out.
Oh, I didn't know
and if
that.
I would have ripped any harder, I would have stripped my urethra.
Oh, dude.
So finally they let me out of there, and my eyes are completely red. The whites of my eyes are completely red from all the blood vessels bursting.
Jeez.
So, like, nobody can even look me in the eye because I look like the devil,
Yeah.
And, I kind of knew, okay, something's got to give now. I can't just go back to, status quo like as usual. Like, it's time that something drastic has to happen here.
Right.
Alicia had already called Kevin and called Ann Russo. And Kevin, that's like going back to my friends and I being, thick as thieves. Hunter, Triple H, told Kev, he goes, look, I can't get him this time. He said, can you get him? And he was right there, man. He was on a plane to Mexico City, picked me up. He brought me to Houston, Texas, to Menninger Clinic. And I stayed there for 4 months. And Matt Bourne was actually there with me.
In treatment?
And it didn't work for him. It worked for me.
Right.
I stayed there 4 months. They had like a 5-star chef there, and it was a very loving and safe environment. And I'll be honest with you, I cried the day I had to leave there.
Dude, I'm almost crying listening to you tell this story. I mean, it's so disturbing for me to hear this because so many of the guys have died.
But it's life, man. I mean, and it happened, and I'm not going to run from it.
So how did the 4 month stay go, and what was that? Because I mean, you're off your rocker. You had the incident. The shit hit the fan. So you decide to do the double whammy. Make sure you do the deed. You wake up, and they come get you. You go down to the clinic. You're there for 4 months. How was that process? How did they bring you back to ground zero, or as close to ground zero as you could get?
Well, the thing is this place, unlike a lot of alcohol and drug rehab places, they concentrate on, it's not just a place for drug and alcohol rehab. It's for any kind of mental disorder. They have an OCD wing,
Gotcha.
A wing for people that, have eating disorders, people that are addicted to, everything. They have people that are cutters, everything you can think of. So I wasn't just in therapy with drug addicts. I mean, it was all different kinds. And we would have group therapies, and we would be forced to really take an honest look at ourselves, And it's easy to lie to yourself.
Yeah, I mean, basically you're living a life in denial. I really figured out a lot of shit about myself, Steve, and it was no wonder. And the things like I was talking about, being abused as a kid, like that wasn't even like come to find out what the big issue was with me. I had some resentments, whether they were right or wrong. I had some resentments from not having been supervised enough as a kid, or or whatever. Trying to put that politely. But you're now in a good space right now, right?
Fantastic, man.
What's tomorrow for you? What's 2 months from now? What's a year from now for you? Where do you want to be?
Well, tomorrow is going to be a day I go to the gym. I take care of business on the internet. I handle my booking stuff, and a couple months from now, I'm booked real far in advance. We got Scott and Kevin and I have a UK tour coming up where it's basically just a bullshit session, Q&A, and that thing's going to be sold out like everywhere we go. And we don't even have to take a bump,
That's
and it's great that Scott's healthy now because, the Wolfpack, else the Wolfpack tour, wouldn't be going on. So,
well, if as far as all of the people that are on the indie scene, they know how to contact you because on Twitter you're at the real X-Pac. But is
Correct.
there any other way, an email address that you want to put out there for people that are looking for bookings?
Just Sean Waltman 123 at yahoo.com, or go to my Facebook, which is Facebook.com/X-Pac6.
Sean Waltman,
and leave me a message on there.
Leave a message on there. I'll tell you one thing: if it's a phone call to try to find your ass, it is a hard thing to get a hold of you. I was like, Jesus Christ, I've been trying to get a hold of you for a damn month, and you text me or send me a direct message, and finally it all hooked up. I'm glad it did. I'm fixing to take a little break. We're going to pay some bills. We're going to listen to a word from our sponsors, the sponsors that keep this show on the air for free. Though we're apart these days, we're sharing more, and Geico would just like to say thanks. Thanks for sharing your savage dance moves. Thanks for sharing your DIY haircut fails. Thanks for sharing your inner lip sync star. Now it's Geico's turn to share too with the Geico Give Back, a 15% credit on car and motorcycle policies for current and new customers. And because Geico's committed for the long haul, the 15% credit lasts your full policy term. Visit geico.com/giveback for info and eligibility. All right, to give me the go-home cue, don't forget to rate and review the Steve Austin Show on Apple Podcasts and tell your friends to check us out. If you want to reach me here on the podcast, send an email to questions@steveaustinshow.com. The best damn IPA on the planet is Broken Skull IPA at El Segundo Brewing Company. You can also get Broken Skull IPA at Whole Foods and Total Wines if you live in California. If you're not in California, check out elsegundobrewing.com because we might be heading your way. We are in 17 states. Go to the elsegundobrewing.com website, click on BS IPA, and look at the interactive map to find the location nearest you. Thank you for all your support in this badass IPA. In my opinion, it's the best IPA in America, and that's the bottom line because I said so. I'd like to say one more thank you for all the fine sponsors of the Steve Austin Show, especially BetOnline, Geico, Scott's, and Rocket Mortgage. That's how I'm able to do this podcast for you free twice a week. Please support them because they support us. If you need more info, check out the show description to this episode for details. Folks, if you see me riding something in the woods, you can bet your ass it'll be a Kawasaki. Until next time, my name is Steve Austin, and I'll catch your ass down the road.
This has been a PodcastOne production. Download new episodes of The Steve Austin Show every Tuesday at PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.